Chapter 1521. Can't we eavesdrop? Sean asked curiously, eager to know what the children had discovered. Jonathan also watched the children with a smile, eager to hear their secrets. You're not ready to hear it. Zachary smiled, choosing not to say it out loud in public. You should at least tell your dad, right? Can't your dad listen? Sean amusingly looked at the child. Zachary furrowed his brows slightly, asserting, my dad is not interested. Sean and Jonathan looked at Benjamin at the same time, smilingly asked, aren't you interested? Not interested. Benjamin glanced at the two of them, his voice indifferent. It wasn't to back up Zachary's move. He truly wasn't interested. Tell me about it tonight, but not to them. Orissa said with a smile to her son, making Sean and Jonathan feel curious and excited. I've got a bite. This one's definitely a big one. Darius suddenly became overjoyed, unable to contain his excitement. Orissa leaned over to take a look. The fish Darius had caught was splashing about in the water, causing droplets to spray up. It's a big one, Benjamin. Hurry up and help Dad pull it in. She called out to Benjamin, getting even more excited than if she had caught it herself. Benjamin gently patted her head, then walked over to Darius. Allow me, I'll pull it up myself. Darius dodged and started pulling the line, though it was somewhat strenuous for him. Benjamin slightly pursed his lips, standing to the side, watching Darius pull by himself. It's quite heavy, Darius muttered. The fish struggled more fiercely, making it even harder to handle. He turned his head and called out to Benjamin, come over here and help. What are you standing there for? Benjamin retorted, you said you wanted to do it yourself, so I'm letting you do it. Even though he was arguing with Darius, Benjamin still stepped forward to help pull the fish up, doing so with ease. Darius glanced at him, grumbling discontentedly, if you wanted me to do it myself, then why didn't you let me? Benjamin didn't argue with him. He baited his hook and cast it directly into the lake. Do we still need to fish? We already have 4. Sean peered into the bucket. The fish were all quite large. Darius locked eyes with the kids and asked, shall we continue? No more competition. One more catch for Grandpa will do. Zachary simply decided to reel in his rod, not fishing anymore. Grandpa, keep going, Oliver encouraged, moving to Darius' side. Darius chuckled, I'll keep going and catch a bigger one. Grandpa, you don't need to catch a big one. You've already won even if you don't catch anything. Gavin looked at his grandfather, very serious. The edge of Darius' mouth twitched. I caught 2, and you guys caught 2 as well. How did I win? Because we outnumber you. Gavin smirked. There are 6 of us and only 1 of you. Haven't you won already? They would have to catch a dozen or so fish to win. Darius laughed heartily, tapping the child's nose. He just knows how to cheer me up. Gavin is right. Grandpa is the winner. Orissa praised Darius with a laugh. You guys are just teasing me. We're clearly at a draw. Darius laughed heartily in response, continuing to gaze into the lake. Zachary and Jesse were already herding the school of fish toward Darius, urging him to hurry up and start fishing. Edwin, we already have 4 fish here. Why don't we deliver them to those families first? Dad can catch more for us to eat later, Orissa instructed Edwin so as not to waste any more time. Indeed, Mrs. Graham, I will have them sent over immediately. Edwin promptly called for the bodyguards. Then, he instructed them to deliver the fish and mushrooms to the Patterson, Bailey, and Watts families. Benjamin, thank you, Sean said with a smile. To Benjamin, even saluting. Why not take them back home yourself? It'll save them a trip. Benjamin glanced at him. I don't have time. I still need to stay here for dinner. Sean quickly dodged. He specifically came to eat. Everyone saw him dodge faster than anyone else and burst into hearty laughter. Chapter 1522. In the end, it was the bodyguards who had to deliver the goods to the other families. Sean and Jonathan simply wanted to have dinner at Yaleview. Grandpa, the fish is about to bite. Oliver squatted next to Darius, observing the fish swimming under the water. Gavin and Zachary were off to the side, sprinkling some bait. Meanwhile, Jessie squatted nearby, propping her chin up with both hands, staring intently at the water's surface. Hee hee, isn't it a big one? Darius was overjoyed. This one is even bigger than the previous one. Grandpa, hold steady. Don't get too excited. The fish hasn't bitten the hook yet. Zachary urgently reminded Darius to keep his fishing rod steady. Otherwise, Darius might scare the fish away. Darius quickly steadied himself, his gaze fixed intently on the water's surface. When Arissa and the others saw this, they couldn't help but laugh. Haven't Tim and Jasper been gone for a bit too long? Sean glanced into the distance, unsure of where the two children were. He didn't dare to go looking for them. I'll go check on them, Edwin quickly said, rushing over to see the two children. Benjamin also glanced in that direction, not worried about anything happening. Perhaps the two children were playing over there again. Arissa tugged at Benjamin's sleeve. Call them over, will you? Benjamin glanced at her, and following her instructions, he called out, Tim, Jasper. Came the response from the two children, but it sounded like they were busy. Timothy and Jasper were searching for their pet baby snake, which had slithered away. The two children were looking in the nearby flower garden. Edwin came over and couldn't help but laugh when he saw that both of their clothes and hair were covered in leaves and bits of grass. Are you catching kitties here, kids? Edwin teased them. Mr. Whitley, we're looking for our snakes. There are still two we haven't found, Timothy informed Edwin while scanning the surroundings. He had a feeling they were nearby, just not yet found. Mr. Whitley, if you're scared, don't come over. We'll head back once we've found it. Jasper continued to lie on the grass, swiveling his head from side to side like a radar, observing. Tim, call them again, Jasper shouted toward Timothy. I'm not scared. I'll help you look. Maybe they're hungry and have gone over to the lake. Edwin cheerfully responded, joining the snake searching team to assist the two children. They probably won't be over there. I feel like they're nearby. Timothy responded to Edwin, then started whistling, hoping the two baby snakes would hurry over. The group tilted their heads to listen carefully, and at the same time, they noticed a sound coming from somewhere. Over there, Jasper exclaimed excitedly, quickly getting up and running toward the direction of the sound. I heard it from that direction too. Edwin quickly followed suit. Delighted, Timothy also followed them. Do you see where it is? Jasper was the first one to arrive, but he hadn't found it yet and was looking around. Timothy whistled again, and suddenly, a sound came from a branch somewhere. The group went over to take a look and found one of the snakes. Edwin laughed and said, looks like it's eaten too much. Jasper swiftly climbed up the tree trunk and brought down the snake. Are you dumb or what? Can't you wiggle upward when you get stuck? The little snake flicked its tongue, looking somewhat innocent. Jasper poked its belly again, and a faint call came from the bulging spot inside. It seems like there's a frog inside its tummy. Edwin laughed. Timothy stroked the snake's head. Where's your friend? The baby snake flicked its tongue, struggling to slither down from the leaf into the embrace of the foliage, heading in a certain direction. Timothy quickly followed, and Jasper, along with Edwin, also joined in. Not far away, just about 10 meters or so, there was a snake hole. Perhaps in response to a call, a snake poked its head out of the hole when the group arrived. I've finally found you. Jasper pressed his hands on his hips, glaring at the snake as he began to scold it. What are you doing hiding here? I called you and you didn't come out. If you misbehave, I won't give you any chicken in the future. Chapter 1523. The little snake whimpered a few times as it burrowed into the hole, preparing for hibernation. The weather is getting colder. It's probably getting ready to hibernate, Edwin explained to Jasper with a smile. Jasper, please put it back quickly. Everyone is waiting for us. Okay. Jasper swiftly picked up the snake and ran towards its home. Mr. Whitley, wait for us. We'll be quick, Timothy called out, picking up another snake to put away. I'll be waiting, Edwin replied, walking over to the small path to wait for them. Tim, let's hurry. Jasper dropped the baby snake and urged Timothy. Timothy gently patted the baby snake's heads as he put them down. You guys need to stay here. Don't wander off. We'll come back to play with you when we have free time. Inside the snake house, all the baby snakes lifted their heads, flicking their tongues as if responding. The two brothers closed the gate and ran back to Edwin, shouting, "Mr. Whitley, we're ready. Let's head back." Edwin patted their heads and led them back to where everyone else was waiting. On Arissa's side, she had been waiting for a while and wondered, what are they doing over there? Why haven't they come back yet? Benjamin looked at her and smiled. They just responded to me, so they must be playing over there. Arissa glanced at him. If she could walk better, she would have loved to go over and see what the two children were up to. Wow, the fish took the bait. It's on the hook. Jessie clapped her hands in excitement when she saw Darius catch a fish. Grandpa, you're amazing, Oliver exclaimed, his little body filled with excitement. Grandpa is still in his prime. He's really impressive. Zachary gave Darius a thumbs up. Gavin urged Darius, Grandpa, quickly pull it up. Don't let it get away. I'll scoop it up with the net. Seeing his grandchildren so excited, Darius couldn't help but smile. Don't worry, once a fish is hooked, it has no chance of getting away. Darius cheerfully reeled in the line quickly and efficiently. Jonathan took the fishing net and stepped forward to help. Mr. Graham, this fish is incredibly huge. Sean looked at the thrashing fish with a beaming smile. It won't fit in one pot. Arissa was also surprised and cheerfully said, then let's make 2 pots of stew. Exactly. We have a lot of people, so let's prepare more pots of stew. Mary said with a smile, moving the bucket aside to make room for Jonathan to put the fish in. Step back a little, don't get hit by the fish. Jonathan warned the children. Only after they had moved back did he unhook the fish. Mr. Graham, you're amazing. It seems like you've caught the biggest fish here. Sean gave Darius a thumbs up. Darius was overjoyed. Edwin returned with the 2 children. When they saw Darius' bountiful harvest, they were all thrilled. Grandpa, are we going back to clean the fish now? Jasper asked with a cheerful smile, already holding the basket filled with mushrooms. Let's go. We're going back to prepare the fish. We're having fish pot for dinner tonight. Darius called out, packing up his things to return to the main house. Jonathan and Sean helped carry the fish bucket, while the 3 children hugged the mushroom basket. The others carried fishing gear and empty buckets. Mommy, we're going back now. All right, you guys go ahead, Arissa said with a smile, waving her hand, not needing them to push her. Benjamin pushed Arissa in her wheelchair, following behind everyone else. Upon entering the house, Darius, Edwin, and Mary headed towards the kitchen. The children followed, eager to watch the fish being prepared. Sean went to change clothes in the guest room, while Jonathan joined them in the kitchen. Only Arissa and Benjamin remained. Benjamin leaned over and asked her, do you want to go to the kitchen, or would you prefer to rest here in the living room? Let's go there. Arissa glanced at him. She loved lively atmospheres. Sitting alone in the living room was not fun at all. Grinning, Benjamin pushed her forward. Chapter 1524. At Yaleview, there was a bustling atmosphere, while the York residence remained eerily quiet. Regan sat in the living room, feeling utterly dejected and devoid of any vitality or spirit. He was the only one left in the entire York family. His elderly mother and Heather were locked up, his daughter Miranda was not at home, and even the housekeeper was nowhere to be found. Regan looked around the unusually quiet home, feeling uncomfortable. Upon reflection, he realized that all the changes at home were connected to Benjamin. Deep down, Regan was already trembling with fear. He wanted to call Arissa, but he was afraid that Benjamin would harm the York family again. Given the current situation, if the York family were to be targeted again, they wouldn't be able to survive. Regan covered his face with both hands, feeling helpless. The company's partners had returned all their orders, and his elderly mother was also suffering. He had reached out to all the connections he could think of, but everyone avoided him. No one dared to help him stand up against Benjamin. Suddenly, his cell phone rang, sending a jolt through his body. His eyes lit up, thinking that perhaps a friend had decided to lend a helping hand. He answered, "This is Regan. Your mother has fainted. We are rushing her to the hospital. Please come as soon as you can," replied the person on the other end. Regan's mind went blank for a moment. He didn't catch the address the other person had just given. Anxiously, he asked for it again. After finding out the location, he hurriedly rushed to the hospital. Finley was in the emergency room. Regan rushed there, where the police were also present. What exactly happened to my mother? Why did she suddenly faint? Don't worry. When we found her, it was only 20 minutes before mealtime, and she was fine then. It could be due to hunger. The doctor is already treating her inside. We'll know the exact situation when they come out, replied the police. Regan rubbed his hands together, filled with anxiety, hoping nothing else would happen to his elderly mother. An hour later, Finley was wheeled out. When the two police officers learned she had fainted from hunger and not food poisoning, they left. As Regan followed his mother into the ward, he settled down. He sat by the bed, watching over his elderly mother. The hospital room fell silent. The elderly woman on the bed, previously unconscious, opened one eye and called out softly, "Regan. Mom." Regan was overjoyed to see his mother awake and hurriedly attempted to call the doctor. Finley quickly grabbed him. "Don't shout." Regan sat back down, looking at his mother with concern. "Mom, I'll call the doctor in to check on you again." "No need. I'm just hungry. Nothing's wrong." Finley quickly reassured her son, explaining to him, "If didn't do this, could I have gotten out? You didn't come to rescue me, so I had to get out on my own." Speaking of that, Finley still had some complaints about her son. "Mom, are you pretending?" Regan looked at his mother in surprise, unable to believe it. Finley's face changed slightly, showing a hint of guilt. "What do you mean by pretending? I really am famished. I've been mistreated by them inside." Regan glanced at his elderly mother, relieved to see she was all right. "How did they treat you? They show me no respect at all. I can't even get a drink of water. When I want to use the restroom, I have to call out for what feels like forever before anyone pays attention." Finley lamented, painting a pitiful picture of her situation. "Mom, I'm sorry for the hardship you've had to endure. I've done everything I could, reaching out to all the connections I could think of, but they just won't release you." Regan explained the situation to Finley, feeling utterly helpless. If he had the means, he would never let his dear mother suffer like that. "It's all because of that despicable Orissa. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't have been caught. Regan, you must teach that ungrateful woman a lesson. It's such a waste that our York family raised her. If I had known it would come to this, back then, I wouldn't have let your father bring her back." "Mom," Regan interrupted his mother's angry tirade, preventing her from saying anything else she shouldn't. His tone was serious as he continued to remind her of a few things. "Mom, I'm in no position to lecture her anymore. She's now married to Benjamin, and his power and influence are immense. Our family can't afford to cross him. From now on, Mom, please don't bother her anymore. Our family really can't afford to provoke her. You were in the wrong this time, too. If you keep making the same mistakes, even I won't be able to protect you." Heather has been arrested for spreading rumors about Benjamin online. The company is also facing difficulties now. Our family really can't afford any more trouble. Chapter 1525. Heather has been arrested, and the company is in trouble, too. Finley looked at her son in shock, horror evident in her eyes. "I can't believe it. Benjamin really targeted us. It must be that little troublemaker, Orissa, who made Benjamin treat us like this." Regardless of whether Orissa is the one who made Benjamin act this way, our entire family can't afford to offend him. "I'm nothing in Delmore. Dealing with us is as easy for him as crushing an ant." Regan had no choice but to explain to his elderly mother that their family's status was insignificant compared to the prestigious standing of the Graham family. Trying to oppose Benjamin would be futile. "They won't take me back there, will they? My son, I can't go back there. If they take me again, I'll die. I haven't lived enough. I don't want to die." Upon hearing her son's words, Finley was terrified and began to cry, her lips trembling uncontrollably. "Mom, calm down. The two police officers who brought you here have already left. They probably won't take you back, so just focus on getting better." Regan tried to soothe his elderly mother, whose crying was enough to give him a headache. Have they left? Finley glanced toward the door, not seeing any police officers around. They're gone. Regan sighed. Mom, you should rest well. Son, let's go home now. Let's go back to our hometown. I don't want to stay in Delmore anymore. Finley was so frightened that all she wanted was to escape from there as soon as possible. She dared not stay any longer, fearing retaliation from Benjamin. Mom, let's stay in the hospital for the night. You're really weak right now. Regan persuaded his elderly mother. If they didn't want her to leave, they wouldn't have departed. I'm fine, just hungry. Let's go out first, and I'll be okay once we get back and have something to eat. The elderly lady pulled out the needle herself, sat up, and was ready to head back. Regan had no choice but to compromise. All right, I'll take you home. Orissa was preparing dinner with everyone, or more precisely, she was watching everyone else prepare dinner. Ethan was also notified to come for dinner. As soon as he arrived, the meal officially began. Today we feast on fish and mushrooms, absolutely pure and natural. Take your time and enjoy, everyone. Darius called out to everyone, his face full of joy. Upon hearing Darius' words, everyone burst into hearty laughter. Old Mr. Graham, if you say things like that, will they still dare to eat? Edwin teased Darius. Darius snorted lightly. Why wouldn't they dare? It's not like we're strangers. Sean chuckled lightly. Jonathan also smiled at Darius. Old Mr. Graham, I'm really fortunate to be here today. I will definitely take my time to savor your culinary skills. Darius was brimming with joy, his gaze sweeping around the room. He laughed and said, everyone's here, so let's dig in. I'll start with the mushrooms. As soon as Darius picked up his fork, everyone else began to eat. Issa, this is delicious. Let me serve you some. Darius reached out, signaling Orissa to pass her bow. To him. Thanks, Dad. Orissa happily handed over the bowl. It was as though they were like a real father and daughter. Benjamin's gaze fell on her beautiful face, and seeing her happiness, he smiled. Old Mr. Graham, you're so good to Orissa. Look at Benjamin, he's getting envious. Sean teased, noticing Benjamin's gaze on Orissa. Darius glanced at Benjamin and said, what's there for him to envy? It's good enough that he's not annoying me. Benjamin glanced at Darius, warning, you're loosening your grip on the bowl. Darius quickly steadied the bowl, served a bit more, and then passed it over to Orissa. Issa, eat more. This is really sweet. Orissa looked at them with a smile. Dad, you should eat more too. The children were all engrossed in their food, not as chatty as usual, fearing that if they ate too slowly, there would be nothing left. Sweethearts, watch out for the fish bones. Darius reminded. Occasionally, he served his grandchildren some dishes. Chapter 1526. Thank you, Grandpa. The children cheerfully looked up at Darius and expressed their gratitude. Their mouths were filled with food, and their cheeks were plump, making them unbearably adorable. Sean and Jonathan also took turns serving food to the children, feeling content when the kids thanked them. As parents, Benjamin and Orissa were having a relatively easy time. They quietly enjoyed their own meals. The couple displayed their affection for each other. Benjamin would occasionally select pieces of fish for her, ensuring that all the bones were removed before handing it to her. Be careful, okay. Orissa nodded, thoroughly enjoying her meal. Noticing the sauce at the corner of her mouth, Benjamin picked up a napkin and gently wiped it off for her. Orissa's eyes sparkled as she looked at him, reflecting the towering figure of Benjamin. Her adorable appearance touched Benjamin's heart directly. He leaned over and whispered in her ear, no need to rush. The kids will laugh at you if they see it. Orissa let out a light huff, her gaze fixed on him. You're teasing me, aren't you? I'm not. Benjamin raised his eyebrows. Sean, Jonathan, and Ethan were all sitting across from them. Observing the sweet interaction between the couple, they couldn't help but steal a few more glances. They enjoyed their food while listening to their conversation, finding it quite interesting. Everyone thoroughly enjoyed the feast of fresh fish and mushrooms. Even the fortunate bodyguards who got a taste couldn't stop praising it. They were so captivated by the food that they lost track of time. After dinner, Benjamin, Sean, Jonathan, and Ethan gathered in the study to discuss matters. Meanwhile, Orissa accompanied Darius, Mary, and the children for a stroll in the garden. "Mommy, can we go see the baby snakes?" Timothy, carrying some snacks to alleviate Orissa's worries, ran over to her and asked. Now, Orissa caressed her son's hair. Even though they checked on the snakes in the afternoon, they're planning to go again. "Yeah, I'll get them something to eat, or they'll run out again." Timothy nodded vigorously, looking at her expectantly. With a smile, Orissa gently pinched the child's cheek. "Off you go, but don't run. Be careful not to trip." "Sure, Mommy," Timothy said, brimming with joy. At that moment, Jasper and Oliver had already brought their toy cars, both calling out to Timothy. "Hurry up and get in. We're going for a drive." Darius watched the children, looking dashing and adorable, with sheer joy and delight, smiling happily at them. "I want to go too." Jesse eagerly climbed into Oliver's small car. "Tim, come over here. Let me show you the thrill of speed and passion." Jasper stylishly flicked his hair. After Timothy had a good laugh, he finally ran over to get in the car. "Aren't you two coming?" Orissa asked with a smile, seeing Gavin and Zachary still standing off to the side. The two brothers glanced back at her, then Zachary waved his hand and said, "I'll drive." "Bye Mommy, bye Grandpa, bye Great-Grandaunt, bye Mr. Whitley." The children waved goodbye with excitement as if they were embarking on a long journey. Orissa couldn't help but laugh, raising her hand in response to them. "Slow down, especially around the corners. Don't crash. Got it." The children responded in unison, and in no time, two small cars drove off. Zachary drove over in his small car, executed a beautiful break, invited Gavin to enter, and then chased after them. "Slow down." Darius also stared intently at the children, shouting to remind them to be careful. "Edwin, have a few people follow them and keep an eye out. We don't want them to actually get hurt." "Yes, old Mr. Graham." Edwin instructed a few bodyguards to follow and protect. The children, while they, the elders, stayed there with Orissa. The laughter and playful chatter of the children echoed all the way, bringing smiles to the faces of their elders. "What a lovely day today," Darius exclaimed, hands clasped behind his back, his eyes twinkling with joy as he looked into the distance. Chapter 1527. The children hurriedly returned in their open-top kitty cars, calling out to their mother from a distance. Orissa smiled and remarked, "They came back so quickly. I thought they would play a bit longer." "Ha, indeed," Darius agreed. Edwin and Mary also spotted the children and looked in their direction. "Slow down." Darius shouted, concerned that his young grandchildren might have an accident if they weren't careful. Zachary, Jasper, and Oliver were accustomed to this routine and knew to drive cautiously. Orissa had confidence in them, as she had often taken them to the amusement park in the past. "Mommy, Grandpa, Grandaunt." The children skillfully parked their small cars and quickly got out. "You're back so soon. Why didn't you play a little longer?" Orissa chuckled as she watched them. The children's foreheads were slightly sweaty. She called them over and used a handkerchief to wipe their brows. "Mommy, we still have homework to do." Timothy blinked at Orissa. If it weren't for the homework, they would have loved to play a bit longer. Orissa gently patted his head and said, "Then go do your homework. You can play once you're finished." "Right." Timothy nodded enthusiastically. He bid farewell to the elders and hurried back home. "Mommy, are you coming inside?" Gavin asked Orissa, offering to help push her into the room. Orissa glanced at the elders before responding, "Gavin, you guys go in first. I'll stay outside and sit with Grandpa and the others for a while. Mom, when you go in later, call us. We'll come out and help push you into the house," he instructed her. Orissa laughed, "I can go in by myself, no problem. I still have others here. You all should hurry up and do your homework. I'll come in to check on it later." Only then did Gavin lead his younger brothers and sister into the house to do their homework. The adults lingered outside the garden for a casual chat before entering the house. Benjamin, Jonathan, Sean, and Ethan were still occupied with their own tasks in the study. Darius and Mary were watching TV in the living room. Meanwhile, Orissa was checking the children's homework and providing them with guidance. Timothy had made significant progress. He was diligent in his studies. However, Jessie remained the same, showing little interest in her academics. "Tim, everything is correct." Orissa praised her son, giving him a thumbs up. Timothy handed her another document to review, one that Orissa had overlooked. "Mommy, you haven't checked this for me yet. I'll take a look." Orissa took it, carefully inspected it, and affectionately ruffled her son's hair. "No issues with this one, sweetheart. You did great. Just make sure your handwriting is neater. Keep up the good work." Since he started learning late, his handwriting wasn't as good as the others. "All right, Mommy, I'll work on it." Timothy nodded earnestly. "Good boy." Orissa felt satisfied, and the other children's homework was flawless as well. "Jessie, even your older brother Tim, who started learning later than you, has managed to catch up. You really need to learn from him." Jessie looked at her mother shyly, biting her lower lip. "I just don't know how to do it." Looking into her daughter's innocent eyes, Orissa sighed inwardly. Does she lack the effort, or is it simply a lack of natural talent? "It's all right. Your brothers will teach you." Orissa encouraged her daughter. "Mom, you wouldn't believe it. We've tried teaching her, but it's like she doesn't retain anything. She seems to understand during the lessons, but when it's time for her to do it herself, she struggles." Jasper complained about her younger sister, almost calling her foolish. Orissa chuckled. "It seems Jessie has her own weaknesses. Take your time, sweetheart," Orissa said to her daughter. Chapter 1528. Jessie glanced at her mother, noticing that she wasn't being scolded. She secretly felt happy. "Mommy, am I really unintelligent?" "Of course not. You're quite clever." Orissa poked the little girl's forehead. "You just need to put more effort into your studies. If you did, would you be falling behind?" Jessie stuck out her tongue, sidled up to her, and hugged Orissa, acting coyly. "Mommy, can you teach me?" Orissa looked at the little girl with a smile, gently ruffling her hair. "Once I'm done checking your brother's homework, I'll teach you." It was a rare occasion that her daughter wanted to do homework, so naturally, she guided her through it. Jessie chuckled and nodded vigorously. "Yes, I'll wait for you." Orissa glanced at her and then continued to check the homework of the other children. Gavin, Zachary, Oliver, and Timothy were fine, except for Jasper. "How many times have I told you that your homework needs to be neat and tidy? Don't write so messily," said Orissa. Jasper gave an awkward chuckle, explaining softly. "Mommy, I made a mistake. That's why it ended up like this. The words are still clearly visible, aren't they? Your handwriting greatly affects the presentation score and the impression score. You need to write more neatly. I don't expect your words to be exceptionally beautiful, but they should at least be tidy. It seems like you've been rushing. If you weren't in such a hurry, it wouldn't have turned out so messy." Orissa muttered. "Jasper is simply too impatient and lacks focus. Once you've finished your homework, practice your calligraphy. Work on your handwriting. If you don't practice now and make it look good, you won't be able to improve it later." Orissa instructed, her gaze fixed on the youngsters, encouraging them to practice their writing. "Understood, Mommy." Gavin was the quickest to respond, followed closely by Timothy, Zachary, and Oliver. "Fine, I'll practice," Jasper hummed, pulling out his own copybook, and began to write. Orissa glanced at them and then began tutoring the little girl instead of doing her own homework. Half an hour later, Jonathan, Sean, and Ethan finally emerged from the study. Seeing the youngsters doing their homework in the living room, they all came over to take a look. "Well done," Sean praised with a smile, complimenting the youngsters. "This is just handwriting practice, but it's not bad, right?" "Mommy thinks my writing is ugly." Jasper pouted her lips, feeling that Sean was just trying to flatter her. Jonathan and Ethan chuckled as they looked at Sean. "Can't you speak properly? You've really made a mistake." Sean grinned, patting Jasper. "Do you want me to teach you?" "No need, I can write by myself," Jasper coolly responded. Sean raised an eyebrow, observing the earnest efforts of the other youngsters practicing their calligraphy. "Are you all finished?" Orissa glanced at them and called out. "Yes, I've finished my work." Jonathan nodded in affirmation. "Go and have some coffee." Orissa gestured them towards Darius, as she still had to help the young girl with her homework. Once the lesson was explained, there were still homework assignments left to be done. "I need to head back. I have court tomorrow," Jonathan told Orissa, then went over to inform the old master as well. Ethan and Jonathan walked together, heading to the company to work overtime. Only Sean was left idle. He planned to stay here for the night. When Benjamin came out, Jonathan and Ethan had already left. Seeing Sean still chatting with Darius, he narrowed his eyes. "Why haven't you left yet?" The corner of Sean's mouth twitched slightly. Is he chasing people away now that Orissa's doing better? Who's the one that insisted I stay, huh? I'm staying here tonight, so it'll be convenient to check on Orissa's health in the morning. There's a meeting at the hospital later, and I was worried I wouldn't make it back here in time if you need me tomorrow morning. Benjamin glanced at him, giving a silent approval. He then walked over and sat down next to Orissa. Jessie looked up at him, her eyes filled with a hint of wariness. Chapter 1529. What's the matter? Benjamin gently stroked the little girl's head, his voice unintentionally softening. Jessie pouted and huffed. Mommy doesn't have time for you right now. Stay away. When Benjamin met his daughter's assertive gaze, his mouth twitched slightly. How about I assist you with your homework? No way. The young girl didn't give him any respect at all. She decisively rejected him. Orissa looked amusingly at the disappointed Benjamin and teased, "Why don't you go have coffee with Darius? I still need to help Jessie with her homework, so don't disturb us here." Benjamin looked at her steadily, somewhat speechless. "My presence here isn't hindering you in any way. Stay back. You failed to obey mommy, so points are deducted again." Jessie scolded Benjamin, clutching Orissa's arm. Upon hearing that, Sean, Darius, Mary, and Edwin couldn't help but burst into laughter. "If you don't sit further away, you won't even pass," Orissa reminded him with a smile. The children had brought his score down to negative. Not only did he not gain any points, but he also lost some. A flicker of uncertainty crossed Benjamin's face as he was unsure of what to say. He decided to shift his position, moving to sit beside Darius. Sean looked at him, amused, ready to tease him. However, before he could utter a word, he was silenced by Benjamin's warning glance, swallowing his words back down. Men should always listen to their wives. Otherwise, they'll be in trouble both at home and outside. Darius sighed at the right moment. Benjamin glanced at Darius, said nothing, and calmly sipped his coffee. The phone in his pocket vibrated once again. He promptly dismissed the call, only for it to ring again shortly after. Whose call is that? Why isn't it being answered? Darius looked up, his gaze fixed on Benjamin. That tiresome fellow, Kingsley. Benjamin's voice was icy, exasperated by the countless phone calls he received from Kingsley throughout the day. Sean chuckled lightly, sipping his coffee. Perhaps he wants to come back. Ever since Kingsley was abandoned in the desert, there wasn't a moment he didn't yearn to return. Unfortunately, Benjamin paid him no attention. Is Mr. Watts coming back? Gavin looked over. Having not seen Kingsley for a while, he somewhat missed him. That depends on whether your father agrees to let him return. Sean winked at the kid, hoping that Gavin would put in a good word for Kingsley. Unfortunately, although the child understood, he did not cooperate and turned his head away with a haughty air. Mr. Graham seemed to say that if Mr. Watts caught a wolf cub, he could return. Did he catch one? Zachary blinked. Sean chuckled a few times. Well, I'm not quite sure about that. Every time Kingsley called, he would endlessly complain. Sean hadn't dared to answer the phone for the past few days. As soon as he saw that it was a call from Kingsley, he would quickly toss it aside. Oh, Zachary responded indifferently, muttering, and here I thought you brothers shared a deep bond. Turns out it's just a superficial relationship. The corner of Benjamin's mouth twitched slightly. Orissa looked at her son with amusement. Focus on practicing your calligraphy. Don't concern yourself with adult matters. Jasper glanced at Orissa, composed his emotions, and focused on practicing his calligraphy. Benjamin's phone rang again. He initially didn't want to answer it, but he ended up doing so after being scolded by Darius a few times. After so many calls, there must be something urgent. You should answer it in case something has happened. Darius stared at Benjamin, indicating that the situation in the desert was not a joking matter. If something were to go wrong, Benjamin wouldn't be able to explain it to the Watts family. Thus, Benjamin answered the phone. "What's the matter?" On the other end, Kingsley was incredibly excited, his voice piercingly loud as he shouted. Benjamin's eyebrows furrowed tightly, and he immediately pulled away his phone. His voice was cold and stern, an aura of dominance seeping through the phone. "I'm hanging up if there's nothing else. Don't hang up. I have something to say." Kingsley's excitement hadn't yet subsided. "You finally answered my call." Chapter 1530. With a somber expression, Benjamin had no interest in listening to this man's incessant chatter. Sean glanced at Benjamin's face, chuckled, and called out to Kingsley, "If you don't get down to business, Benjamin will hang up the phone." "Benjamin, please don't hang up. I've captured the wolf cubs. You need to send someone to pick me up immediately." Kingsley urgently shouted at Benjamin, fearing that his boss might not hear him. He desperately wanted to leave that dreadful place. "Benjamin, I've missed you, Orissa, and the children. How are the kids? Have they missed me?" Kingsley sniffled as he spoke, looking utterly pitiful. "They don't miss you," Benjamin said coldly, metaphorically stabbing a knife into Kingsley's heart. Sean couldn't help but chuckle, feeling a bit of sympathy for Kingsley. When it came to tormenting others, no one could match Benjamin. Sobbing, Kingsley pleaded, "Benjamin, please send someone to bring me back. You must keep your word. If I don't return soon, they will completely forget about me." He was genuinely afraid of being left behind. "Have you captured the wolf cubs?" Benjamin asked. Excitedly, Kingsley exclaimed, Yes, I caught 7. One for each of the children and one for Orissa. You shouldn't play favorites, you know. Orissa has 4 more children in her belly. Shouldn't you plan to send them wolf cubs as well?" Benjamin grinned unsettlingly. Kingsley wasn't sure whether he was surprised or frustrated. "Benjamin, are you saying I need to catch 4 more wolf cubs before I can go home?" "What do you think?" Benjamin responded softly. It wasn't long before he heard the sound of Kingsley crying from the other end. "Benjamin, may I go back first? There aren't many wolf cubs around now, and it was quite a struggle for me to catch enough." "Oh, Benjamin, may I come back to catch more next time? After all, Aaron's child can't play with the cubs yet. Once they start walking, I'll give one to them. Whether you choose to seize the opportunity or not, that's up to you. As for whether I send someone to pick you up, that's my decision," Benjamin replied indifferently, leaving no room for argument. "Benjamin, I've been tormented here. I can't eat well, I can't sleep well, and it's terrifying." Kingsley sobbed. Upon hearing Kingsley's lament, Benjamin could vividly imagine him in a state of sniveling and tears. "What's terrifying?" Benjamin raised an eyebrow, unusually asking an additional question. "This place is haunted. You need to send someone to pick me up quickly, or else you won't see me again." Kingsley's voice trembled. It didn't sound like he was joking. With a furrowed brow, Benjamin asked, "Weren't you at the base?" "Yes, but they didn't believe me. I truly saw a ghost, a dark shadow standing beside my bed." Kingsley was in unspeakable misery. He didn't even dare to return to his own room to sleep. Instead, he was squeezing into someone else's dormitory. Benjamin tapped his thigh, his eyes deep and thoughtful. After a moment, he finally asked, "Have you checked the surveillance?" "I've checked. There was no one on the surveillance." That was what Kingsley feared the most. He wondered who was trying to scare him in the middle of the night. However, upon checking the surveillance, there was nothing unusual. Yet, he had clearly seen that shadowy figure in the dead of night, a thought that sent chills down his spine. "Benjamin, please send someone to pick me up. I'm afraid that ghost might harm me." "You haven't done anything wrong. What are you afraid of?" Benjamin interrupted him coldly. "Enough, I'll have Jack go there. Benjamin felt that there was more to the situation if Kingsley hadn't lied to him. Go on, hurry up and bring him over. Kingsley was excited. He couldn't go back, but at least he would have a familiar face there. Having someone to talk to could calm his frightened emotions. After ending the call, Benjamin immediately dialed Jack, instructing him to head to Kingsley's location without delay.